have a singer, songwriter, and busker from New York. It's Tara Hack. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. Now, I would love to get straight into this. Now, I know that you started from a young age. You started from very humble beginnings, and your passion for music was ignited at a very young age. Now, am I right to know that it was your father who first suggested that you try busking?
Yes, yeah, it was. Was a conductor on the Long Island Railroad, which is the train station that we have.
Mm.
And he would go to work and he would see people playing, and he said, why don't you do that? And that's what started my whole busking journey.
Yeah, and I mean, it kind of, from that moment, it kind of changed the course of your professional life as a musician.
Yes, no, it absolutely did. I wouldn't be where I am without that.
Was that your first experience in music, or did you experience it younger?
No, definitely younger. I mean, I feel like always that's been a thing since being, since birth. But in terms of things before that, it was mostly coffee shops and more low level stuff. I was kind of thrown into rush hour at Penn Station, which, I'm sure in London or in England, you have some train stations that are pretty busy. So it was a little terrifying at first. But
Yeah. And do you still do it now? Do you still continue?
it's funny that you say that because I hadn't for a while, and I'm actually going to start doing it again just because I miss it. So
Oh, great.
yeah.
That's great, because I think when you make music, especially for commuters, traveling, it can make one's day happier and more, just happier and pleasant, really.
Yeah, no, I've definitely gotten that a few times from people I've made. I've had people who followed my music from there. So it's definitely good in terms of exposure and meeting people, but hearing their stories, it's much different when done that way.
Mm.
For the people who come up to me and tell me, that song was my wedding song, or that song reminded me of a friend who passed, or just different stories that you get. And it's like, wow, I, wouldn't have known that. But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And now I know that once you have been doing busking, you have created so many opportunities for yourself. I noticed that you donated or collected at your Penn Station and Atlantic Terminal performances. And I know that that funded a 2019 trip to Abbey Road Studios. Why don't you tell the listeners more about that?
yeah, so it was interesting because I was actually playing. My dad would take me to gigs sometimes and wait for me. And I was playing at this Marriott hotel that's downtown near the World Trade Center where it used to be.
Mm.
Um, and I had this idea. I was playing Hallelujah, and I just had this idea. I was like, I want to record at Abbey Road. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So then I kind of texted my producer at the time, and he was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, all right, well, how are we going to do this? And I said, I play in Penn. Let's use that money that comes in. We'll tell people this is what I'm going to do. And if people want to, they'll know what they put in my case, what it's going towards. So it's going to this trip. And it just grew from there. I kind of just promoted it a bit, and I would get regular people, and they'd give me, $100 here, just help me with this dream, and it got me to Abbey Road 2019.
Yeah, and so moving to going to England, going to the UK, that must have been a bit nerve-wracking, or do you always felt you wanted to go?
It's always been a dream of mine, just from I remember being like in high school and just picturing what my life would be like later on, and just feeling like I'm a huge fan of Coldplay, and just kind of also looking at like People magazine and seeing the celebrities walking on the streets, and they're, particular Chris Martin, and then just being like, wow, how cool is that? Like, I want that to be my life, like just having a coffee, going to the studio. So for me, it was very exciting. Nerve-wracking, yes, because I'm somewhere for a long extended period of time away from things that I know, but it was really exciting because I was able to do that, create music. So
Yeah, and it also helped your artistic growth. And I noticed that once you were in England, you captured the attention of Ron, forgive me if I pronounce the name wrong, but
Sure.
it's Ron Altbach.
Altbach, yeah, or
There,
that's pretty much
got there.
nailed
And
it.
I got there
Um,
eventually. And
yeah.
also Phil Pickett and also Benny D. So these were co-writers and producers. How was that feel for you to get captured by these incredible people and to start recording new music with them?
I mean, amazing. For Ron to kind of, he's in the band King Harvest and they have the song Dancing in the Moonlight. And so for him to kind of say, I love your voice, I want to introduce you to Phil Pickett, who wrote Karma Chameleon with Boy George, which is a huge, massive hit. And for him to be like, nope, she's got a great voice. And for Benny to kind of then, tack on to that as well, it's validating because you spend so much time in your bedroom going, am I? Can I? And then for them to be like, no, you can. It's like, wow, okay. Sometimes you need outside validation from people who you feel like are professionals, obviously, in their field. So I needed that. I needed the validation, basically. But it was really, really nice.
And I mean, it must be great then having like a team that you can sort of bounce off each other and inspire one another in terms of like songwriting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, they're hugely professional within what they do. So to have that guidance was a huge growth, led to an extreme amount of growth for myself as a songwriter, for myself as a musician, and just other aspects of life as well.
Yeah, and I noticed in one of your tracks, which is Sweet Nothing, this shows a very, to me, it captures a very intimate side to your voice. And I found out that it only took you within an hour to like complete the track from hearing Benny D, the producer,
Yeah.
and hearing his instrumental arrangement. And that must have been like perfect, you clicked and you've got it right. And
Yeah, I mean, it was the people I was in the room with as well. Joe
mm,
Two-Ton Killington, he's a songwriter and artist himself in the UK, and I was put with him, Benny, and Phil. And when you have, I mean, the guy who co-wrote Karma Chameleon in the room with you,
mm,
it's kind of very easy to just have an idea and then run with it. And Joe was a huge integral part of that as well. I mean, like I said, I was just in the room. I was very lucky to be in the room with these people because yeah, that created the song within an hour, which to them is probably like taking too long.
mm. But I mean, it's wonderful to know like how an artist and those that she or he worked with just bounce off each other, like I said, just work so perfectly well to produce these like amazing tracks, really.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's I've been in the room with people who you kind of don't really click with.
Mm,
And it's harder to work with people that you don't click with. And it's definitely you appreciate the times when you can.
mm.
Because it's like the bittersweet aspect where it's like if something's bitter because something was sweet. So it's like, wow, yeah, you're very much more thankful for the times when you're in a room and like, this is awesome, as opposed to, I don't know. So yeah, it was easy to bounce ideas off for sure.
Yeah, and I want to just go back a bit to when you funded for your recording trip to Abbey Road Studios. Now, you did do a cover of the Beatles' tune Come Together on the 50th anniversary of their Abbey Road album release. So how did that really start?
It was complete accident that the trip was booked during this time. It was actually during their 50th celebration too. So we were given a tour of the studio and got to go into Studio 2 where they recorded a bunch of their albums, and having to walk into the room and having them up on the screen.
Mm,
So it was dressed up in a way that was different from normal, and to have that happen, it was again one of those things where it's like you do this in your bedroom and you wonder like, can I do this, like, is this something I can do? And then you go, wow, this started from just me going, I want to do that, and then just putting in the work to figure out how to make that happen. Like I said, it's extremely validating. So that was a complete accident. That was just me in January making up a thing, that I want to go do this, and picking, okay, let's have time to save. I'll pick November to make the trip for when we go. And it just happened to be smack in the middle of that anniversary. And we thought, what could we do, for this? And we'll pick a song from the Abbey Road album. So we picked Come Together.
Yeah, so you must really enjoy listening to the Beatles. That must be, well, a who's inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything kind of UK influenced. Like I said, I was always really kind of obsessed with England and being there. So the Beatles, Coldplay, like I said, hugely influential. Yeah.
So were they the songs that you listened to when you were younger, or do you have other favorite artists?
Yeah, I mean, I listened to a lot of things. A lot of that was from my dad, and just playing different things around the house. We've had like Bob Marley playing mixed with Billy Joel, because I'm from Long Island, and he's a huge Long Island guy. But that, and just I also fell into liking things like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby and these kind of old 50s jazz, and so all of that was kind of around that made me who I am, and like the things that I like. And I think a lot of my songs kind of show that influence, where it's like I have a disco song mixed with then this, this UK, you guys call it garage,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Garage.
Yeah.
I think it's the accent. I'm like, I don't know how to actually say it, but we did it back like that. So it all just stems from these influences.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you can really tell that from the songs you have done, from when you can listen to it. And me being, I kind of like old and new music. I think I like music, whatever speaks to you.
Sure.
And I think your songs really assemble that, and you are very versatile as an artist. From doing what you said, from doing Bounce, which is kind of like a funky track, kind of going back to disco.
Yeah, no,
to
absolutely.
to doing like Sweet Nothing, which is a bit different.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for saying that.
You're welcome. But you have done quite a number of songs these couple of years, and moving on to, you've got a new song coming out called Run 2, which is coming out in December, mid of December. So what's that track about? Can you give us a bit of an insight?
Yeah, it's December 15th is the release, and it's kind of about just being the person to lean on for somebody. It's called, Run To. So it's basically kind of saying, whatever happens, you can always come to me. It's basically, the idea behind that. It was created in a rehearsal studio in the city. I performed it with this band, co-wrote it with this band, Rebel Kicks. So Anthony and Steve from that band co-wrote this with me.
Yeah, and I mean, being me, I obviously had a listen beforehand, and I think it's such a brilliant song to listen to. So I think everyone should tune in and play it on their stations, listen to it on their phones.
Oh, thank you. Did I explain it well?
Don't worry.
But did I explain it well?
You did fine, don't worry. But yeah, it is such a really good track. And I wanted to know, how do you produce your music? Where do your inspiration come from?
A lot of it came from busking. I think I've always wanted to be a storyteller in some way. So it's kind of seeing what other people are going through, or even a movie, kind of storyline, and going, okay, what would those characters be feeling? And just trying to put myself in somebody else's shoes as much as I can, which I definitely fail miserably at. But to the best of my ability, trying to create that and creating a song from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very important, because it shows you who you are, not only as an artist, but also as a singer.
Thank you.
And I wanted to also add that you did release a Christmas song last year, which is I Wish That It Could Be Christmas. And that is spinning on Sirius XM on Jolly Christmas Station on channel 105. So that must have been really impressive to hear that, to know that, your song is being played. And
Yeah, like I said, it's another one of those validating things. It's just another sign along the way to go, yeah, you can keep doing this. I feel like as an artist or anybody that's kind of doing something against the grain, which isn't like a 9 to 5 or, this is what you should do. You kind of always look for those little validation points. I do. I'm definitely an artist in the sense of an extreme insecurity. But yeah, so it was amazing, and it's always a very exciting thing to go, wow, they want to play this, and it's one of those kind of natural highs.
And it must have been really fun, creating a Christmas song.
Yeah, it wasn't intended to be. It actually was completely written a different way. And Joe, like I said, Joe Killington, he was like, what if we made this a Christmas song? And me and Phil and Benny were like, yeah, okay, like, well, what are you thinking? And he just in my notes took the notes from my phone and just was like, just so quickly, like 15 minutes almost, and it was like we had changed the song that was different, that took an hour or whatever it was, into Christmas song that we were like, that's it, so.
Wow, that's very interesting to know. So it wouldn't have been a Christmas song to begin with?
No. No, it wasn't. It was kind of similar along the lines of Run To, basically being that kind of relationship based song. And he just heard something in it that reminded him of Christmas. It was something that Phil played on the piano.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do that again, and then just kind of spun off from there.
Oh wow, that is very interesting to know. That's very, because normally artists, they pronounce, we're going to do a Christmas song, but knowing that that wasn't the intention of doing it, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, he just let the song speak to him. And it's like, I don't want to be a relationship song, I want to be a Christmas song.
There you go. And I mean, the song is perfect, especially for this time of year, to get you in the spirit of Christmas.
Thank you.
So hopefully everyone, because we're getting close to December, we got to play that song on repeat, and hopefully it will be a Christmas favorite. You never know.
Yeah, it's like Mariah Carey's had too much at the top.
Like,
All I want for Christmas is usually the go-to. No, I would never we should take that away. But yeah, it would be nice to be a Christmas song.
you never know. But yeah, and
Aim high.
and I mean, so that was your Christmas song from last year. Do you ever think to do another one, or are you just seeing how it goes?
Yeah, I mean, I think what the beauty of that was the fact that it was unintended, just natural. So I think if it naturally happens, of course, but I think to go in and be like, we need to make something about this, I think anytime you do that, it's not going to really work out.
So. And I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
You could wake up one morning and think, I've got it, or
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, your songs are they can be quite similar, but then they can also be very different. From in September, you release the track Who Is Hurting Me, which features Joe Killington in it. And I mean, I love the storytelling that goes within this track. It's about of a troubled love story, and it would be great if you could explain this to us.
Yeah, that was another kind of Joe inspired start to a song where he heard this thing. He's like, oh my God, just kind of heard that, and he did his part, and I went, okay, so if I'm in this situation, if we're having like a troubled relationship, what would I be feeling? And then so we basically wrote our own parts, but it started with him, and then me feeding off of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it shows from both of you, you've got such a both of a gift for storytelling through music, and that's very powerful. I don't think every artist can have that, or I mean they could, well, don't quote me on that. But I think what you two did with that song was it was very powerful to listen to.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's you kind of, I don't know, it's something that can be taught, but I guess it kind of can't be at the same time, where people want to gravitate towards things that are authentic to them. And that's been tough for myself. And I think that's why I've even written from other people's perspectives, because it is hard to tap into that and be honest with yourself if you're being truthful, right? Like, how would I feel? What would I say to, someone in this situation? What would I be feeling in this situation? So,
And I mean, how was it working with Joe? Is it great working with each other?
amazing. Yeah, he's such a talent, and wildly professional. That he's just an enjoyable human being. They all are. So to be, like I said, in the room with them and work and be working, it's like we're not working. Like, this is fun. We're here, and this is fun. So yeah, he was amazing, and I'll take what I've learned from him and carry that, to other projects as well.
Yeah, and I think was it very natural for you to work with others? Was it, easy to do?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's there's a certain level of professionalism, but you do have to get along with the person and gel with them, just in any working in team environment. So like I said, there's been situations where, I kind of, you get it done, but it's like, okay, that was a little bit more challenging. And then there's times where it's just like, this is easy, and not challenging. And we think back at those times and reminisce. Like, I love being in that room with these people. So I definitely have that with these songs for sure.
Yeah, and what would you say if you needed to pick one? What would be your so far your greatest achievement through music?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Abbey Road for me was huge, just from multiple aspects. Like I said, it was proving to myself I can make a goal and complete it, and it led to kind of everything else. But then again, I also think back and think, well, busking was too, because the ability the fact that I was able to get in front of people like that and do something which is like so vulnerable.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did that. So I think back and I'm like, am I ready to go back to do that?
And I mean, it must have been nerve-wracking, even from being younger, from busking in front of loads of people, like hundreds every day, seeing
Yeah.
them just go by all the time, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably, because I was younger, there was less thinking. You just kind of like, you know, you do have I did have a sense of kind of like, got to do it,
Yeah.
not thinking of like, oh, that could be embarrassing, that could be terrifying, that could be all these other things.
Yeah, and I mean, from busking to obviously performing at a lot of venues, I know that you did perform with a band called It Was Romance, and how was that? How was performing with the band?
That was awesome. They had a performance the night of 1,000 Stevies, and I did some backup vocals um, for a Stevie Nicks song, and it was at Irving Plaza. So it was a sold out crowd, and being on the stage and being with them, and they welcomed me with open arms, and it was a lot of fun. There were really a lot of great people there as well. So yeah, it was awesome. It was an experience that I also tend to relive, just replay. It's on that reel of replay.
Yeah, and I mean, if you could perform anywhere, where would you want to go to next?
Glastonbury.
There you
No,
go.
huge Coldplay fan, and when they played at Glastonbury, I was just like, that was just became a goal list. So yeah, so that I have a few. The Macy's Parade, a float on the Macy's Day Parade, the Thanksgiving. So maybe next year. um, with Christmas tree lighting, and for New Year's Eve. So those four have been on my list since for many of years.
Yeah, it's gonna be like on your bucket list, one
Yeah,
after the other.
I'll keep striving, just keep striving for that. Yeah, it's been at least 10 years I've had that on my list, so we'll see.
You never know, it could happen out of the blue, you never know.
The
Fingers
song.
crossed. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, because you are such a Coldplay fan, would you really love to perform with them, or you could perform with anyone?
Yes. Yeah, I would love to write a song with Chris Martin or perform with Chris Martin or open for Chris Martin. Coldplay. I say, Coldplay. It really is everybody in the band that I love. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I'm gonna move a bit away just because unfortunately we're running out of time.
Wow.
Now, I really wanted to ask as well from a personal point of view. Now, I know that you did record a track called Utopia.
Yes.
Now, I've heard you say, quote me if I'm wrong, but I heard you say that for you this was like a bit more political, like your Bob Dylan inspired song,
Yes.
paying homage to protest songs of the 1960s. Where did this happen? How did this happen?
Yeah, I mean, well, it brought me back to my busking roots too, and how I started in terms of being more folky. And then there was like all these riots going on and just different things, and just kind of stemmed from that as to just like kind of almost like an imagine, like, why can't we just get along? Why can't we all just, get along? We all have the same wants and needs. And that's kind of, yeah, where it stemmed from that.
Yeah, and I think it's a very powerful song to play.
Thank you.
And I think it's to me it touched my heart. To me, I think it can touch many people's heart. And I think that's one of the talent you have with creating your songs. It can really touch us in any sort of way, even listening to your track bounce and being just funky and being happy to all your songs really from yeah. And I really wanted to as well applaud you on that, because that's sometimes not easy to do. It's not, and being put in a position and worried it might not be right. It's really works well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's one of the driving reasons for why I want to do this, is to connect with people. So the fact that it has, thank you for telling me that.
And we're hopefully going to listen to your new track coming out in the 15th of December, Run 2. Now, before we unfortunately end the show, I would love to ask you, where can listeners find your music? Where can they go?
Yeah, so Spotify, I have music on Spotify. I at Tara Hack Music is my Instagram. I post stuff on there as well. TikTok, Twitter, and my website, tarahack.com.